Hello. Welcome to July 19th, 2022. My name is Kurt, and this video is my daily good life meditation. I do this every morning. Used to do it just in my head, then I did it out loud while riding my motorcycle in my helmet, and now I do it like this. It's kind of a journal in a way. I talk about the past 24 hours, and I plan for the coming 24 hours. And between those two, efforts, I recount my personal life objectives and principles, which I call the good life. That title is in homage to the Stoics. And this creed is described in my book, Going Alone, which is a tale of venturing away from society into the wilderness to meet and reconcile internally the emptiness of the universe, and then to come back and endeavor to make a good life of it. The good life. Objectives and principles. So let's start. Last night and yesterday. Bless you. Hi, dogs. Last night was, oh goodness, bless you again. Hi Ollie. Hi Rudy. Last night was a typical night. I was up well before an hour before the alarm went off. Wasn't thinking about work necessarily, just thinking about life. Not even really thinking, just kind of in a meditative haze, of thoughts, and I wouldn't call them pleasant at all. They were just, it's like a worrisome haze, without anything particular to worry about. Because things are going well. I'm healthy, happy, and sound. My whole family is. Work is still work, but it's going through an easy phase right now. Nevertheless, my brain seems to be trained to wake up sometime around or before 4 a.m. to mull and muse in the dark there. I wonder if this will keep up after I retire. I think it might. It seems that my whole character is taking a bent in that direction. I used to be so carefree, seemingly. I wouldn't have called myself a happy person. I'm happier now than ever in my life. But I was more, I guess I was going to say carefree, but I guess the word would be careless when I was younger. And I didn't worry because I was maybe too stupid to worry. But I should have worried. So that was last night. Yesterday was an interesting day. I didn't have a lot to do on paper, but I made a full day. In fact, I did overtime. And I told my wife at lunchtime, I said, I don't think I'm going to have a lot to do this afternoon. Speaking of yesterday's afternoon, I sure did. I made a good full day of it, as I always do. I'm incapable of slacking off, largely. It's just not in my nature. If I'm on the clock and someone's paying me, they're going to get good value out of that, even if I'm all alone and no one's supervising me. I guess I should be proud of that. Although, at this late stage of life, when I'm getting so tired, late stage, it's not that late, this autumn of life, when I'm tired, I wish I could rest a little more, maybe go a little slower. Yeah, I was moving fast yesterday too. Okay, I was ambushed kind of by one thing. I had a circumstance come up. I'll keep the details to myself, but Yumiko spotted it, and during our lunch walk, we walk the dogs together at lunch. We take them, in the hot weather like this, we drive them over to the dog park, and then at the park we get out and we walk around under the shade of the trees, and then we'll go sit in the small dog park. And she spotted me out, and she asked me some piercing questions, probing questions, maybe is better, giving me an opportunity to talk. she's good at doing. It took a while to get me to do so, but I did, and I felt better afterwards. Thank you, Yumiko, for that. Otherwise, I finished a book, Desert Oracle, yesterday. That was good. And I started a new book, The Sun Also Rises. I'm also reading, of course, Samuel Johnson's complete works. And then I'm also reading the Norton Anthology of American Literature. So I have kind of 3 books going on at once, which seems to be my norm. You know, a casual read, pocketbook that I can carry with me while I walk. An academic read and a literary read. Yeah, that's it. A light read, academic read, and a scholarly read. What's the difference between the academic and the scholarly? No, not scholarly. Literary. Academic and literary. The academic is the one that's more kind of like research, like history reading. And the literary is the type stuff that's of a category of great writing, the kind of writing that deserves to be taught in college. And then the light stuff is just for fun, you know. Stuff that doesn't require my brains to be so engaged. The other reading, especially the literary reading, requires active participation. Love the light stuff. It's like being in the audience in the theater. Excuse me, I need my coffee. Okay. Oh, my brother's kids are coming to spend a couple of days with us. They're coming Thursday night. I'm a little anxious. You know, I'm not used to having little kids around. I think I'm out of practice. We'll be okay. My brother suggested taking them to the water park on Friday, which I'm trying to do, but they're not calling me back. Their website doesn't work very well, and I tried to call them to reserve a cabana and buy tickets, but the call-in system, phone tree doesn't work. I left a message, but they haven't called back. We'll see. We'll figure it out. It'll all work out. Okay, let's do the good life. 7 objectives and 30 principles, as follows. The first objective is to be always ready to die, just to have my life in good, sound order. My affairs, my papers, my accounts, my relationships, and then my life's work. And I think they are. I think all of those things are in good shape. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to husband my moments, my hours, my days well, and apply myself good. To not, when I come to the end of my life, plead how much wasted time, but to reflect on how much time was so well spent. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Sound meaning not hollow. Good in that they are worthwhile and they're engineered towards good ends, virtuous ends. Sound in that you tap on them and there's no ringing hollowness inside. They're not empty or devoid of substance. And that's what this effort since 2018, so it's been 4 years now in developing the good life, 7 objectives and 30 principles has been. Each of these is the result of this objective, this effort. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become the kind of person who reacts well to whatever happens throughout the day. I'm thinking most recently Saturday's dog attack incident, which was quite emotional, quite dangerous, quite engaged, physical even. Yet I did not lose my control. I maintained my cool. That was a good test. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. And then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities so that I can see where the boundaries are and stay within my scope of control. And I use apathy then against the things that are outside of my control so that I'm not unduly engaged or fretting or worrying about things that I can't do anything about. Like a supernova in the next galaxy over. Apathy. And then finally, the last objective is to do just one thing at a time and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. To never, ever multitask. Although I put the emphasis on the ever. I do it sometimes, but out of necessity. Mostly, really only anymore at work. When I have to scramble, for example, to get two things done in the same scope of time, same span of time. I'll do that because I have to. But I'll try not to. I'll try to manage my time better. Okay, those are my 7 objectives. Now for my 30 principles as follows. Principle number 1 is war. To always be fighting against what I think is true and what others propose to me as something that I should believe is true. Principle number 2 is the principle of reason and the 3 sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt. Did I also put, no, I didn't put prudence here, or did I? No. Reason in this frame of mind is how I discern what is true by being honest with myself and, objective in my worldview, and by being fiercely skeptical of anything that is of any importance or seeming importance as I run it through the ringer. Now the next 2 principles kind of go together. They are the Homunculus and the Anchorhold. The Homunculus is the idea of a little person living in our heads. You know what it feels like. You've got that feeling right now, like he's back there or she's back there looking through your eyes. It's not a real person, it's just our consciousness. But I kind of personify it by giving it a name of Homunculus. It's trapped therein, like a man or a woman on a rock in the sea, a dangerous sea. Don't want to fall in, you're not coming back out. Waves and wind and splashing and cold, heat, the sun, beasts, deep water. That's the Anchorhold. The thing is that we are, each of us, our homunculi are standing on that precipitous rock in the sea. You on yours over there, I'm on mine. We can't cross the gap. There's no boats. We each have to stand there. We can maybe yell and semaphore at each other, but that's the best we can do. And one day the sea will get us all. That's the homunculus. That's the Anchorhold. My consciousness, your consciousness, stuck alone within ourselves in a dangerous sea. The sea, of course, is death. And the stone, the rock that we're standing on, is this mortal coil. Shakespeare got that one right, huh? I could almost change the principal name to mortal coil. Okay, next after that comes the principle of home of good and evil. The home of good and evil. The idea is that right and wrong, good and evil are mere opinions that we develop and maintain, that they don't exist outside of us. Good and evil are artifacts of our minds. They don't exist among the stars or outside in any way other than as thoughts and brain states. When we do good things, when we strive for virtue or justice, we are not aligning to some universal intent or universal signpost or some mandate or speed limit. We're just aligning with what we think is the best way to live. Our opinion, subjective then at best. Okay, next comes the principle of purpose. I have 3 purpose. These are: 1, to be a good husband and father so that I can get my genes successfully into the next generation, which appears to be the sole mandate of life. 2 is to be a virtuous human being, looking after and pursuing the well-being of thinking creatures, including myself. And then 3rd is purpose, whatever personal purpose I endeavor to onboard. For me, that has been the sharing of my book and story, going along, which is what I'm doing right now. I guess this could be considered part of the best part of the day. It's just when I get to fulfill my purpose. Okay, next comes the atomic principle. Everything is made of little bits and pieces, and everything is falling to pieces. And then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that is, so that we're operating in greater accord with how the universe really is. And then the pirate ride. Free will is an illusion, a very convincing one, but an illusion. An illusion that I can't prove. So I hold this position on faith. And I'm damned for that. And then maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. Because that's how we act, that's how we behave in a mature manner, when we wisely remember our past successes and failure and strive to do better. And then the social principle. We are social creatures, we need each other. And then public speaking, a reminder to be careful about what I write and what I say, and to be very careful about the vocabulary that I choose, to use vocabulary that is appropriate and to the point, germane if you like, without being showy or flowery or over the top in any way. And to also never gossip, ever, ever. I'm so good at that. If I do say so myself. It's like gossip can't escape my lips anymore. I had that happen. I was tested this last week. I just kept mute, silent. Even though I had things to add. I had brought some onions and potatoes to add to the gossip stew of the company I was with. I didn't. And I didn't eat them myself. I just sat there quietly, waiting for the subject to change. Maybe venturing to change the subject myself. Okay, after that comes the principle of temperance. Reminder to sorry, I got distracted. A reminder to control my consumption of all things. Work and play and food and drink and everything. Just less. The next principle, and then there's 3 sub-principles. Suffering, simplicity, and apathy, which are the suffering and simplicity are. Suffering is because we suffer a little bit when we deny ourselves what we want, so we need to expect that. So the suffering is okay. Like I'm doing some dieting lately, and I suffer during the day when I'm hungry, and I just accept that. Simplicity is temperate life is a simple life. And then apathy. Again, I think I moved this, but I'll leave it here for now. Understanding what's outside of our control. Be okay with that. I'm being a little bit lazy. Pretty sure I moved apathy elsewhere. Probably belongs with the objective of what is within and not within our control. I should probably move it over there. Don't be lazy, Kurt. Just do it. Okay, the next principle is the horror show. A reminder that life is a pretty scary place. All kinds of bad things happening all the time to everyone and everything, to various degrees. And then the next principle is called that which must be borne with an E, carried. And what we have to carry is the horror show and the fact of the responsibilities that we onboard in life. Like my decision to marry and have a child carries with it responsibilities that I must and I will see through to the end. It's part of it's part of having good character, good form in life. Okay, next is the Feast of Offal. That's what happens when we get upset and throw our upset into the world to let everybody know, and we soil them in the process with our upset excrement. That's gross. So I try not to either do it or consume it when other people are having their Feast of Offal upset tantrum. Okay, that's the Feast of Offal. Next is two principles that go together. Again, distraction and then agency and the great indifference. Distraction suggests that we spend our lives keeping ourselves busy with our work and our play and our hobbies and our television and our gossip and our church and our beliefs, so that we don't have to witness the great indifference, the emptiness of the universe, this seeming backdrop without oversight or guidance, a universe without God, basically. A lot of us don't want to apprehend that. It doesn't bother me so much. It never really did. Even the first time I realized that God was a made-up idea, I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll just get on with it. I guess some of us are just more readily okay with that than others. So that was two principles together. Distraction and agency and the great indifference. Next comes the best seat in the house. A reminder to try to be all right with my current circumstances, with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. All the while striving to be better. The next principle is called the Path of Wildness, which is the trick of getting ourselves unstuck in life, upsetting the inertia of our current status quo in favor of a new direction and way. The next one is the risk of avoiding risk. There's the deep level risk of finding ourselves and the surface level risks of education and career, home, family, security. It's tough to attend to both levels of risk. It's tough to attend to the surface stuff and do a good job on all that and still have time to go find ourselves, or vice versa. So I recommend doing the finding first and then the life development after that. So go to university, get your degree from 25 to 30, have your adventure, go out in the world, don't come back, don't get anybody pregnant, and when you come back at 30, take your degree, get your job, start your life. I think you'll be glad you did, if you survive. And even that's not so bad if you don't. Okay, it's hard to, and by the way, it's really hard to do the opposite. It's hard to attend to the surface stuff and then think I'll do it later. I'll do the deep stuff when I retire. Good luck with that. Some people seem to pull it off, but for the most part, we're old and tired and worn out and set in our ways and risk adverse and far too wise to make the necessary foolish mistakes of youth that are so critical in the development of our character. Yeah, I guess your chance is gone at that point. The chance to develop your character is set in stone in a way when you get to be my age. The next principle is called sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview. These are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too readily; faith, believing things where you use the fact of your belief as the foundation for the belief, which is a circular situation, not good; superstition, believing things that are categorically identified as nonsense; authority, believing things based on the seeming weight and grandeur of someone's say-so. Dogma, believing something based on the fact that it's a tradition and there's a big book and a lot of other people believe. None of those are good reasons to believe anything. And then finally, again, gossip. Engaging in any of those, and we suffer damnation immediately in the here and now by virtue of believing things that are untrue, possibly untrue, being untrue, or gossiping about others, where gossip is defined as communicating about others in such a way that, if they're not there, in such a way that you would be embarrassed to suddenly discover they were listening to what you said over their shoulder. That's gossip. It's real easy. Don't do that. It's a sin. It's a nasty sin. Okay, next comes complete oblivion. After we're dead, there will be nothing to follow, at least no life to follow, no going on of this consciousness in any way. That means that we won't see our loved ones again. We won't have a chance to reconcile any differences we had with them, and we won't have a chance to see justice served. We can only attend to those things during the course of our life. Next comes the great life adventure, which is the result of the path of wildness, typically. It results in a great life adventure where we have an experience of life that helps to become part of our story, and maybe a defining part. And then the season of philosophy is the next principle, which is a time to record what we've learned. And then the bullseye aim, shooting for the mark and missing, which is common. The uphill climb, making sure that every day is an upward struggle. If we're not utterly worn out by the end of the day, it probably wasn't such a good used day. Or maybe it was a good day for recreating and resting. But I would rather be climbing. I don't rest very well, or very often. Maybe that's my folly. Okay, and then comes the arena and utility. Life is an arena for the pursuit of our objectives by virtue of our principles. And then nothing is enough, the next principle, a reminder that things don't satisfy. Stuff doesn't make us happy, or at least not for very long. Happiness and peace and a sense of contentment come from the pursuit of the experience of life, and a settled sense of values. I like the way that sounds. I think that's the closest I've come to hitting that particular mark. Settled sense of values. And then lastly, the principle of fun. A reminder to enjoy life now and enjoy looking forward to the future to come, and enjoy the retrospect and the remembrance of the past, even if it was a painful past, to at least then gain from it and benefit. Okay, those are my 30 principles and my 7 objectives. Let's talk about today. I've got like 4 or 5 meetings today, including 3 difficult ones. I'm ready for them. I prepared. That was what I was doing yesterday. I was largely getting ready for them. These are challenging meetings. They're important ones. I'll get through it. I'll do well as I can, because I am prepared. I did prepare. I worked hard yesterday, and I will do these things, and I will move forward. And I'm also grateful that I'm no longer a manager. I'm just a worker bee. So the really mind-bending, challenging part of these meetings is literally above my pay grade. Whew, thank goodness. Doesn't mean I couldn't do it. I can. It just takes more out of me. I know I can because I have. It just takes more out of me than I want to. I don't want to, and I really have become resigned to the fact that I've climbed the career ladder as high as I want to go. I've gone 2 rungs up, and I didn't like the view. So that uphill climb principle, it's more for climbing mountains you want to climb. This is a mountain I do not want to climb. So I'll stay right where I am as long as they'll have me here, get my daughter through college, and to get my wife and I back to Japan, and settle down for the rest of our lives. Oh yeah, November 18th, 2050, according to the death clock. I put that number in because I wanted to put it on my calendar. That's the day I'm going to die, November 18th, 2050. So if I can get retired in 3 or 4 years, I'm going to have a good long haul ahead of me. It's just, of course, it's just an online clock. Results vary, but it's something kind of to plan for. The trick is to not plan things in such a way that I'm putting it off, right? Because those aren't all going to be good years, and they're not all guaranteed. And the best are probably, I don't know, would I say the best are the earliest ones? I don't know, the way my life seems to go, my body becomes less, but my mind becomes more fit and sound as I go on. Unless my mind begins to, as it will, begins to degrade more and more, at least I think I'll be in a better psychological sense in terms of values and objectives and settled sense of peace. A settled sense of peace. I like that. I'll finish with that. Take care. Be safe, but not too safe.